is I once again, Jordan, aka Defcos. Um, and today we are an Invincible fanboy extraordinaire. Yep, I did it. I went out. Oh yeah, I'm looking at my hair. It looks so insane. I just took a shower and I put like I have this like coconut like hair product, whatever, that's supposed to like moisturize and like curl your hair or whatever. And like this is the result. So let's try and not focus on that too much. but yeah. So I went out and I bought two Invincible trade paperbacks, Volume 8 and Volume 9. Uh, because recently, if you've been seeing anything that I've been posting recently on my channel, a lot of it is recently it's been Invincible versus gameplay footage. Because I'm a big fan of fighting games. I've been a big fan of fighting games for a long time, like since I was a little kid, pretty much. And yeah, so I've always loved fighting games. And then when I was in high school, I got into Invincible. Uh, so this was like early 2000s, like 2003, 2004, 2005, around there. And and that's around the time that the Invincible comics started. And I was actually actively collecting American comics at that time. I'm mostly a manga fan when it comes to like comics in general. I mean, I love all kinds of comics. I love all kinds of art, but when it comes to comics, like sequential storytelling, I'm mostly a manga guy. Manga is what inspired me the most, and I would still say I prefer manga to American comics. But I do love American comics like Marvel, DC, Image, and yeah. So I was actively collecting American comics at that time. I was living in New York at the time, and I would go to Midtown Comics in Times Square. They're still around, and they're an awesome comic book store. And I would go there and I would buy, X Men, Spider Man, Batman, all that stuff. So for a couple years there, I was pretty into, American comics. And that was when, coincidentally, that was when Robert Kirkman was becoming really popular as a comic book writer, um, with Invincible and The Walking Dead and all his stuff that he does, like Bread and Tech Jacket, and he writes a bunch of comics. But yeah, but Invincible came out around that time, and I immediately got. I'm pretty sure it was pretty shortly. I don't know if I bought like issue one the week it came out. I don't really remember. Maybe I did, but I definitely got into it shortly after it started, and I immediately thought it was amazing. Robert Kirkman is a really good writer, and Ryan. I think. Oh, so when it first started, it was Corey Walker who was the artist, and he's a really cool artist. But then he left the series for whatever reason, I'm not sure, and then he was replaced by Ryan Otley or Otley. I actually don't know how to pronounce his name. It might be Otley. Um, and uh, and Ryan Otley, he's just a boss when it comes to drawing. Like he draws so well, and it's funny reading this comic. I just finished reading this, and looking at his art. Like obviously it's amazing, but it's interesting to look at his art from like the early 2000s compared to his art today, because you could actually see the improvement. Like he was always good, obviously, but he's actually even better now, believe it or not. If you check out his Instagram, I follow him on Instagram and on Twitter, whatever, and he's actually even better now, which is amazing. Because I like when I look at my art from 20 years ago and I look at like my art today, I'm like I don't see much of an improvement. Like, eh, but but with Ryan Otley, he definitely got better. Um, but uh, but yeah, all that to say, Invincible Versus really got me interested. It like kind of reignited my interest in the Invincible story. So I had watched season one of the show. I didn't watch it immediately when it came out. I watched it like I don't know, a little bit later. I'm pretty sure it was before season two came out. So between the release of season one and season two, I watched season one, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but in my opinion, like from what I remembered from the comic, it's been a long time since I've read it, but I remember when I was watching season one, I was like, "Oh, this is good" or whatever. But like, I kind of preferred the comic. Like they did make some changes here and there, and like, you know, I get kind of weird when it comes to comic book adaptations and the changes that they make and stuff, and you know, because I get really nostalgic and I kind of want it to be the way I remembered it to be, and there were some significant differences in the show. So, I thought it was good, but for that reason, I didn't like keep watching it as it came out. So, but then when Invincible Versus got announced, I was like, oh wow, they're making an Invincible fighting game. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to learn more about that. And then the beta came out for the Invincible Versus game. I think before the beta came out, when like maybe like a couple weeks before the beta, I was like, okay, Invincible Versus the game is coming out. I'm definitely gonna check that out. So you know what? Let me go back and let me check out the show. Let me finish watching the show because by that time I think season two and three were out, and then season four was about to come out. I think that's what happened there. So I watched season two and season three, and then I started watching season four weekly as the episodes were dropping, and I was like, "Wow, this is actually amazing. This is actually amazing." Like I forgot how much I love Invincible. Like Invincible is the fucking shit. Because back in the day, like literally Invincible was my favorite American comic. Like I liked it better than anything Marvel was doing. I liked it better than anything DC was doing. Um, I think it's fair to say my two favorite comics. I mean, there were some pretty awesome comics. I'm not gonna front. Like Invincible wasn't the only one, but I think for me it was my favorite. Especially at the time, I was around the same age as Mark, so it was kind of perfect for me. And yeah, so Invincible was awesome, and like I really liked the Walking Dead comic too. I thought the Walking Dead comic, which was also being released around that time. So he was writing Invincible and The Walking Dead at the same time, which is nuts because those are both really strong comics. Uh, so uh, so yeah, then I graduated high school and I started going to college and I was still reading Invincible. I remember talking to a friend of mine about it specifically one day. I was like, Invincible's so cool. It's one of my favorite comics, whatever. But then for whatever reason, I'm guessing it's because I was so broke. I don't remember why, but for some reason I stopped buying the comic week to week. Like I stopped reading it. And I remember I think when I came to Chicago or right before I left New York, I bought an Invincible graphic novel, and I'm pretty sure it was the old edition of this one. I can't really remember. It's been a long time, but I think it was this one because from what I recall, Anissa was in it, and this is the volume where Anissa shows up for the first time. So I'm pretty sure it was this one. Although when I was reading this, I mean, it was probably was this one because when I was reading this, I actually feel like I read this before. Like a lot of it felt very familiar to me. Maybe it's because I just watched the show, but I think I actually remember specifically like the drawings and stuff. And also there are parts in the comic that are not in the show that I seem to recall, and like there are parts that are different. It's a little different. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure this was the volume that I left off at. So I wanted to pick up where I left off. I wanted to pick up where I left off, and I want to continue reading the comic and making videos about the comic and stuff. And and I also want to keep playing Invincible Versus. Tune into my Twitch stream. I'm definitely gonna keep playing that because it's really cool. It's really fun. My streams when I play it aren't very long because uh, when I play fighting games, like, I mean, when I play video games in general, I usually don't really play longer than like an hour or two. A lot of people can like play a video game all day. I can't, I mean, I can do that, but I don't do that often. I usually just play like an hour or two. Since I want to start building my Twitch channel, I should probably do longer streams. So I'll try and work on that. But when I play a game, I usually like, like I said, about an hour or so, hour or two, and I'm done. But with fighting games, it's even less than that. It's like less than an hour that I play because I get so hyped up. I get so stressed out. Like I really want to win. I really don't want to lose. And when I lose, I feel mad and like salty and like I just get really hyped and stressed out. So like I can't maintain that level of emotion for too long. I care too much. That's the problem. I actually care too much. It is fun. It is fun though. It is a really fun game. It's a cool game. If you haven't played it, or if you like fighting games, I would highly recommend it. If you like Invincible, I would highly recommend it. So yeah, definitely check that out. Or you could come watch me play. But yeah, so playing Invincible Versus, getting excited for Invincible Versus, made me rediscover the Invincible show and now the comic. So yeah, so I decided what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up where I left off, which is I'm pretty sure was around here, volume 8. So this is, I think, yeah, this is issues 42 to 47, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 42 to 47. Um, so yeah, so this was already a few years into the run of Invincible. This was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years into the run of Invincible, something like that. So yeah, so I read Invincible for like 3 4 years straight, and then I stopped. But yeah, but now 20 years later, it's time to pick up where we left off. So that's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. Oh yeah, and I want to finish the comic before season 5 drops. So that's my goal. That's my goal. So anyway, let's talk about the book a little bit. So yeah, so it's funny. I literally just watched this in the show. But yeah, but it is a little different. But you know, it's basically they do what I was saying the One Piece show should have done in season 1, where they use the comic as a guide. Like, yeah, there are some differences here and there. Some characters are different. I will say that a lot of the changes that they made were positive changes. Like they improved upon the comic story and characters and stuff. I felt like in a lot of cases, like a lot of the characters are more diverse. Like Amber in the comic, she's just like a blonde white girl. In the show, she's a black girl. William in the comic, he's just like Mark's bro. Like he's just like he's just like a dude. But in the show, he's a gay guy, so that's kind of interesting. And then they do that with a bunch of characters like Rex. Rex is also, he's like tan in the show. He's like he's like brown, kind of dark skinned. Yeah, Rudy too. Uh, and in the show, they're both. I mean, in the comic, they're both white. So it's like those are positive adjustments. I feel like you know, to make the cast more diverse. To make the cast more diverse, because that's the world. That's the world we live in. Not everybody is the same. So yeah. Let's see here. So it starts off. Mark is on a mission on the moon. And then there's the whole sequence where he fights the giant. Oh yeah, I will say, reading this, it's interesting. Like American comics, you know, and I think this is also the case with European comics, like French comics, like Tintin and Asterix and stuff like that. Um, like it's funny. Like I guess the reason why I love manga so much as opposed to those other ones is because in manga they do a really good job of making the character, like the artwork look like it's moving. Like you can really feel like the speed, like with the zoom lines, and like if somebody throws a punch, a lot of the time, like the way the artist draws it, like their hand will be blurry, so it looks like it's in motion and stuff like that. So it looks like it's moving a lot of the time. In American comics, even during the action sequences, like if somebody throws a punch, like here, look. Well, actually, let me choose a better picture, a bigger one, because if I'm just gonna show the camera, then I should get a big picture. But I know there's a big picture I can show you. Okay, here we go. Like this right here on the left, that's the immortal punching Alan, and it's really well drawn. Obviously, like I said, Ryan Otley is amazing, but it's static. It's like a freeze frame. It's like in photography. I did a photography program a long time ago, and you could adjust the shutter speed of your camera. So you could either take an instant picture, like an exact freeze frame of a particular moment in time, or if you lower I think is if you lower the shutter speed, the, the the camera takes the picture slower or something like that. I don't know exactly how it works, but like it'll if like instead of being a freeze frame, it'll be like a blurred image. So you can adjust that with photography, and I feel like manga, that's what they do. Like they make it look like it's in motion. In comics, American comics, it looks like a freeze frame of any particular moment. So even though like it's really well drawn, obviously it's really well drawn. It looks really cool. Uh, it's just a static image as opposed to giving the illusion of motion. Um, so that's a big reason why I prefer manga. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. There's the fight with the giant. Oh yeah, and another thing I noticed reading this, a lot of the time, like the way it's the pacing of the story, like the way it's edited, um, like you'll go from scene to scene very abruptly. I feel like when I write a story, and I think this is also something that's more something that happens in manga. Like sometimes you'll jump from like, okay, this was happening over here, now this is happening over here with these other characters or whatever. Uh, but in this, like literally, Invincible will go from the moon to Earth in like a page. Like he's on the moon, he's on Earth. The next page, fighting the giant, and then the next page, like he spends 2 pages with the giant. The Guardians of the Globe show up, and then the next page he's back in space, and you don't see anything in between, like how he got there or like what he did or whatever. He's just there immediately, and I get why it's like that because it's not like you really need all that, because comics are a lot shorter than manga. A manga volume is like, 200 pages or something like that, whereas like an American comic is like what, like 30 pages maybe, something like that, like every month. And then the trade paperback, they collect a bunch of volumes and about a bunch of issues into one volume. Uh, but yeah, so you don't really need to show him travel from Earth to space or whatever. But personally, I think that's more enjoyable to read when you see like when you follow the character more in more detail. Um, but yeah, but again, I get it. It's not like I don't get it. But yeah. So then, what happens next? Let me see here. Oh yeah, yeah. So he goes back to space. Then cut again. We cut again, and he's at the Pentagon talking to Cecil. So like, see, this is what I'm talking about. On the left, he's in space doing his mission. Next page, directly on the next page, there's like a narrator box at the top, and it says the Pentagon. So we have no idea what happened in between these two scenes. Um, so. I guess it's not important, isn't it? That's why it's not there. But even when stuff isn't important, like I feel like including scenes that are like not necessarily important to the plot kind of makes it feel more real to me, because not everything that happens to a person every second of every moment is, you know, important, I guess, or like, worth noting, like, you know, so it's kind of cool in my opinion. If like this is what I try to do with my stories, like it's kind of cool to show those in between sequences where people are just being people, I think that's what a lot of people can relate to. So, it might not be a huge action sequence. It might not be, a big story like scene where they develop the plot a lot or whatever. But I think it's still enjoyable, especially if the art's good and the dialogue's good. Even if it's not crazy important dialogue, if it's just funny or well written, it can be important. It can be fun to read. So yeah. So then this is the whole sequence where Mark is having his crisis at college, where he's like seriously considering dropping out because he's a superhero and he doesn't need to be in college. He's just doing it because it's the thing that's expected of him, but he doesn't really want to do it. So there's that whole. Oh yeah, and he's talking about his relationship with Amber, and he's talking about he likes Eve, but he misses Amber and stuff. Um, oh yeah, this is a character that I fucking love, and I think he's in the show. I forget if he's in the show or not. Actually, he must be. I'm actually gonna have to rewatch the show. Um, yeah, I'm actually gonna have to rewatch the show again because even though I just watched like most of it, my memory is kind of crappy sometimes. So I'm gonna have to rewatch it just to make sure it's all in my head. But this character on the right, Octoboss, he's really dope. Like his design is sick as fuck, and his speech pattern is really funny and cool. Like he taught himself how to, like he's from another dimension or whatever, and like he taught himself how to speak English. So his English is really weird and broken. It's really cool. Um, and then what else? Okay, yeah. So we don't see the fight with Octoboss. He just alludes to the fight with Octoboss, and then next page, he's like he looks like he's been in a fight, but he's arriving home, and he's talking about the fight with Octoboss. So fight sequences for me are a big thing that I love about comics and manga and stuff. Like that's why I love Dragon Ball so much, and One Piece, and a lot of shonen, is because they go into detail with the fight choreography. Like they really think out what happens during the fight, and they draw each panel, each sequence of the fight, and those are like some of the most enjoyable parts of a manga or a shonen manga or a battle manga. um so yeah, so he goes back home, he sees his mother, he sees Oliver, and this is where Oliver gets his powers for the first time. We see him flying. This is the first reveal of Oliver's powers. um so yeah, so that's cool. Yeah. um we go back to Alan. Alan fights the Immortal briefly. Then Invincible shows up. I love Alan. Alan is one of my favorite characters. Alan, and ever since I started playing Invincible Versus, now I'm a big fan of Robot, because Robot is really cool in Invincible Versus. Alan is really cool in Invincible Versus too. Um, so yeah, so he comes to see Mark, and they have a whole conversation. Uh, then he leaves. But yeah, then Eve shows up at we cut back to Mark being at in his dorm room with William, and and they and then Eve shows up, and I think I remember this particular panel. I think this is a pretty memorable panel. This is the end of a volume of an issue. Because in comics, a lot of the time, the last page is always like, I mean, I guess in comics, like the last page of a chapter, the last page of an issue is always usually it's like some kind of cliffhanger, like a big. It usually takes up the whole page or like a big panel, and this is where Eve shows up and she says, "Hey, Mark, I hear you're single now. So are we dating or what?" And I don't think that was in the show. I think that was a little different in the show. I don't remember that happening in the show. Um, oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about Anissa. So I was talking about this during. So this past weekend, I restreamed Combo Breaker, which is a big fighting game tournament in the Chicago area. I wish I could have gone, but I can't. I can't go because I don't have any money. So I didn't go. But I restreamed it, and I really enjoyed watching it. And my cousin Corey was in the chat, and we were just talking the whole time, and it was really fun. So I think from now on, I'm actually gonna restream. I'll restream some events. I'm gonna restream Evo. Evo is coming up at the end of June. Um, so I'm probably gonna restream Evo, unless something happens between now and then where I'm not able to. But the plan as of now is that I'm gonna restream Evo. But anyway, I was talking about Anissa's design because in the game, Anissa is one of my favorite characters. She's so sick, and in the comic, at least when she first shows up, like her head gets kind of cut off here. You can't really see her hair that well, but her hair is like really short. Like she has like a short, like kind of boyish haircut, and in the cartoon, from the second she shows up, she has like the way I described it, it's kind of like Trunks a little bit. If you're familiar with Dragon Ball, Trunks, yeah, he has like a I don't know how to describe his hair, but anyway, Anissa's hair kind of looks like that a little bit, and I think like in the cartoon, and I think that's a better design. I think that's a better design. She looks less butch, I guess, like a little more feminine. Although her personality is not, she's a Viltrumite, so she's pretty hardcore. Um, but then we have this whole sequence where Eve and Mark talk about their relationship and stuff. Um, then yeah, oh yeah, and then we have this scene where Anissa shows up. So yeah, so this is Anissa's first appearance. Oh yeah, and I'm assuming if you're watching this, I'm not gonna explain in detail everything about the story of Invincible. I'm hoping you're familiar. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you're hopefully familiar with Invincible. If you're not familiar with Invincible and you like comics and you like, cool animation and stuff like that, then I would definitely recommend checking it out because you'll like it. If you like superheroes and stuff, it's basically and I'll say this ahead of time in case you aren't familiar with Invincible. Don't look at it as like, oh, it's another superhero story. Because even though it is, the whole point of Invincible is that it's like an homage to superheroes. It's like it's an homage and a parody at the same time of pretty much the Marvel and the DC universe. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you watch it. Um, but at the same time, it's its own original universe and it's its own original story. But it does take heavy inspiration from Marvel and DC, and Dragon Ball. Weirdly enough, or at least I remember I actually mentioned this on stream too. Invincible, like the Viltrumites, the Viltrum Empire, they're like the main antagonists in Invincible, and Mark is actually half Viltrumite, and his father was from Viltrum, and the Viltrumites they're kind of like Saiyans, like in a lot of ways. Um, the way they conquer planets. Even though Saiyans, I guess, don't necessarily do that if they're not working for Frieza, but still. Um, but so they conquer planets. A lot of them have black hair, just like Saiyans. They fly just like Saiyans. They're super fucking powerful, just like Saiyans. They're super violent, just like Saiyans. They want to fight all the time. That's like all they care about is fighting, just like Saiyans. And I remember back in the day when I was reading Invincible, somebody actually brought that up to Robert Kirkman. Like I said, I mentioned this on stream, but yeah, somebody brought it up to Robert Kirkman and was like, "Hey, what's up with the similarity between Dragon Ball and Invincible?" And Robert Kirkman said, "Oh, I don't, I've never read Dragon Ball, so I couldn't tell you. Like, I guess it's just a coincidence. Like that's what he said." And I remember thinking, I don't know if I buy that, bro. Like Dragon Ball. Like if it was some obscure story that nobody knew about, sure, you don't know about it, cool. But Dragon Ball, like I don't know, man. Like coming from a comic writer, that seemed a little weird, but at the same time, coincidences do happen. A lot of time people do come up with similar ideas and stuff, and that's just the way it is. So I guess it's possible that's just a coincidence, but I'm not sure. So he has the whole conversation with Anissa, and then so from what I recall in the show, like I said, I'm gonna have to watch it again. But when Anissa shows up, I feel like she shows up, and then they like start fighting pretty soon after she shows up. And in this, they kind of go on like a mission together, and they kind of have like a whole conversation. Um, they have like a whole conversation beforehand where Anis is trying to convince Mark to like work for the Viltrum Empire. But then they go on this whole mission here because Mark is constantly going on missions that Cecil gives him, and they go on this mission and they save this cruise ship and stuff and all the people on it, and Anissa does a lot of the work and helps Mark. So Anissa isn't like immediately like a bad guy. She's kind of ambiguous a little bit, or it's like, yeah, she's a Viltrumite, but and she wants Mark to work for the Viltrumites and stuff. But she's also kind of like they're kind of being friendly to each other. Um, and then he like here's another big, panel like end of an issue page. Um, and again, this is what I'm talking about. Really well drawn, super well drawn. It's just static. It's static. Um, so yeah. Um, so then Anissa and Mark fight. So they have a fight, or not really a fight. It's more like Anissa just kind of dominating. Slamming him into the ground. I feel like the fight in the show was a little more elaborate. Because the action sequences in the show are actually really good. Um, so yeah, but then Mark, he basically tells Anissa, "I'm not gonna work for you," and then Anissa leaves and says, "I hope you change your mind and stuff." And I think she foreshadows conquests coming, and what else? Yeah. So damn, I think I had a thought and I just went out of my head. But anyway, oh yeah, that okay. Um, yeah, and this is dope. And this is dope. Oh yeah. So then we cut back to Alan, and he comes across the Viltrumite ship, and he meets Anissa, and he fights her briefly. I forget if this happened in the show. Did it? I think it did actually. Yeah, and then he gets taken aboard the Viltrumite ship, Cut back to Mark at the dorm. Oh yeah, and Paul's design in the comic is significantly different from his design in the show. I wonder why they made him look so different. Um, oh yeah, yeah, and then we cut to Nolan on the Viltrumite prison ship. Oh yeah, and then we get Duplicate and the Immortal. And it's revealed that Duplicate is not dead, because that's so awesome how if her original body doesn't get killed, she doesn't die. So she doesn't use her original body. She like hides her original body away, and she only uses her clones to like fight and go out in the world and stuff. I think that's a really cool touch. And also she has a different costume here. She never has that costume in the show. So I actually forgot about that costume. But it would be cool if they gave her that as an alternate costume in the game. I hope they do that. Um, yeah, yeah. So Invincible's training to get stronger. Oh yeah, this is also something that's kind of similar to Dragon Ball. In Dragon Ball, a lot of the time, like they'll say, "Oh, you know, in a couple months or a couple years or whatever, a really strong bad guy is gonna show up. So you gotta train, you gotta get stronger, because when he shows up, you're gonna have to fight him." So they train. There's like a whole training arc and whatnot. That's kind of what's happening here. Like Anissa says, "Oh, I don't know when it's gonna happen. Maybe 5 months, maybe 5 years, but a really strong Viltrumite is gonna come, and either you're gonna work with us or he's gonna kick your ass." And so Invincible starts training. He's like, okay, a really strong Viltrumite is gonna show up in a couple of years or like whenever. He doesn't know when, and so he starts training. That's 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 Dragon Ball. That's just Dragon Ball. um. Oh yeah, and then we get the sequence with Fire Master and Dropkick. I love those names. I think those are cool names for characters. Um, and then the whole thing where Multipal shows up. So there's actually two characters named Paul. There's Multipal, and then there's Mark's mom's boyfriend, whose name is Paul as well. Um, so yeah, so Multipal. There's the whole fight with Multipal, and this is actually a pretty elaborate action sequence when Rex and Invincible are fighting Fire Master and Dropkick, and then they start fighting Multipal. So this action sequence actually goes on for a number of pages. Um, yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then there's an action sequence in the prison with Nolan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure this is around where I stopped reading. Although some of these drawings did look familiar to me. Yeah, yeah, a lot of this did look familiar. Um, but again, maybe it's because I just watched this show, but I don't think so. I think it's like Ryan Otley's art that I'm recognizing and remembering. Then we get a sequence where apparently Monster Girl is like trying to use her ability through a robot. I don't think that was in the show either. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Um, yeah, and then we get those two dudes. What are their names again? Mag Maniac and Tether Tyrant. Tether Tyrant is kind of cool because he's actually kind of an original character. He has like a weird like alien on on his like stomach that he uses. It's kind of cool. Yeah, this is actually kind of elaborate action sequence too, where he fights the Mag Maniac and Tether Tyrant. Yeah, this is actually a pretty elaborate fight sequence as well. So I guess they do that here. They just didn't have the fight with Octobos. I guess I really wanted to see the fight with Octobos. That's why I was mad about that. But then, yeah, and then we cut back to the Pentagon, and yeah, and we see the army of, I think they're called Reanimen. Yeah. So yeah, so that's volume 8. I know I didn't go too into detail. I don't want to spoil too hard, like the story or anything. I just wanted to kind of talk about my thoughts about it and, and show off some art and talk a little bit about the story and my thoughts on it. I didn't want to spoil too much, so, if you're not familiar with Invincible, you could check it out after watching this video and not, and still enjoy it and stuff. Okay, so I did buy Volume 9 as well. And I'm pretty sure I have never read Volume 9 or like issues 48 through 43. I'm pretty sure that this is around where I I stopped I stopped reading. Um It's funny. Cecil is kind of fatter in the comic. In the show, he's pretty skinny, but in the comic, he's a little more pudgy. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure, pretty sure I haven't read this before. So this will be the first one that I'm reading fresh. So we'll do that next time. I'll probably read that soon. You know, probably sooner rather than later. And I'll just keep buying the volumes until I read everything. So yeah. So how long have I been going on? 41 minutes. Okay. You know, not too shabby, I suppose. So yeah. Yeah, Invincible Versus is amazing. Totally reignited my love for Invincible. I'm definitely gonna keep playing that. I'll try and play some more later today. Um, I'll stream, so definitely come in and check out my stream. I definitely need viewers because if I could start making money, that would be amazing. I've already made like a little money, but not enough to actually have them give it to me. So that's a little frustrating, but yeah, I'm gonna keep working at it, and hopefully I can start making money on Twitch and on YouTube would be great as well. So like, follow, subscribe on Twitch and YouTube. If you want to see my personal art, you can check out my Instagram, my Global Comics. I've posted a few of my comics on Global Comics. I posted all on Instagram, and I've done my recent comics I've posted on Global Comics. I think I'm gonna actually upload my older comics to Global Comics as well, because those are the ones I actually worked harder on when I was young and motivated, and not jaded and bitter. Um, but uh, but yeah, so I think I'll upload those to Global Comics. So yeah, so you guys can check those out. I actually have a story in mind that I worked on a little bit, like a year or two ago. It's been in my head for a long time. Probably, maybe I don't think I was working on it when I was reading Invincible, but I think like maybe 15 or so years ago, this idea has been in my head, and it's an Invincible esque story, where it's like my take on superheroes. Basically, it's called Top Notch, which is not unlike Invincible as far as titles go. Um, but yeah, it's basically the same thing. It's basically like, so okay, so if Invincible is he's kind of like, his personality and his abilities is kind of like, he's kind of like Peter Parker, but also he's like Superman or Superboy. Because he's like a nice, cool high school kid, but he's also, he's really powerful. He's got powers like Superman where he can fly and he's really strong and stuff. So in that regard, he's kind of like Spider-Man and Superboy. My character is more like Spider-Man or like Peter Parker and Batman. It's like if Batman was broke, like if Batman didn't have a shit ton of money. That's kind of my character. So, but again, I've only worked on a few pages. I haven't worked very much on it, but I have a lot of characters and ideas in my head. So maybe one day I'll work on it more in depth. But yeah. So anyway, all that. Oh, one last thing before I go. I'm currently, if you look at the last video, not the last video I uploaded, but the last video where I was on camera, and I uploaded it. Um, I was talking about the People's Artist contest, hosted by Johnny Depp. So yeah, so that's the contest that's been going on for a number of weeks at this point. Um, so the way it works is they put you in a group with a bunch of other artists. I think there was like 70 something people in my group. And every week they whittle it down, whittle it down, whittle it down based on the amount of votes you get. So, so what happened today or yesterday was you had to be in the top 10 of the group. First it was top 20, then top 15. Now it's top 10. So yeah, so top 10. So yeah, so I'm the ninth out of 10. And so next week, what's going to happen is you have to be in the top 5 to advance. So, you know, that's kind of a long shot. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. Looks like I'm going to get eliminated, but you know, if you're watching this video and you like my art or you like my videos or you like my content at all, or if you know me in person and maybe you care, if you could vote, I'd really, really appreciate it because I would love to. I mean, you know, realistically, I think my odds of winning the whole contest are pretty slim, but you know, I would like to make it far. I would like to make it pretty far, even if I don't win. So, you know, if you could vote and get me to at least top 5 by June 4th, I would really appreciate it. You can vote once a day, so once every 24 hours you can vote again. So what they want you to do is to donate money. I think the money goes to like some kind of charity or some kind of like maybe it goes to like the art company. I don't know exactly how it works, but they want you to donate money. I'm not necessarily asking you to do that. If you want to do that and you can afford to do that, by all means go ahead. I'd appreciate it a lot. But I'm not asking you to donate money necessarily. But you are allowed to submit one free vote every day. So you can vote for free once a day. So if enough people vote for free once a day, then I might advance in my group and I might make it to top 5 by June 4th, which is the deadline. It's not looking like it's gonna happen. I mean, I'm ninth, so that's gonna be rough. That's gonna be tough to get to top 5. And even if I do make it to top 5, am I gonna make it to like the quarterfinals? I think is the next phase after that. I don't know, but I would love to make it as far as possible. Maybe this is as far as possible, but if I can make it further, that would be amazing. So if you could help me with that, I'd really appreciate it a lot. Yeah. So I'll put the link in the description, and I'll put the link to my Instagram and my Twitch. And yeah, follow me, support me, help me out if you like my stuff. You know, I'd appreciate it a lot. So anyway, if you watched me talk about mostly Invincible for 48 minutes, almost an hour. I've been going on for a while. I think I'm gonna try and start editing my videos. I literally never edit them. I just upload what I film. I mean, I feel like I talk for most of the time. I guess I could edit some stuff out. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have a lot of editing skills, but I'm gonna try and learn how to do that and like try to make my videos a little more appealing to watch and sit through. So yeah, so if you watch me talk about Invincible for almost an hour, thank you very much. And I will see you in the very near future. Take it easy.